Well, congratulations to the National Press Foundation, and congratulations to you for being here. Your support means so much to journalists across the country, and so thank you very much. I am really grateful for what this award means to me, to my friends at the Detroit Free Press, and to Gannett, which coaches, encourages, and demands watchdog reporting. And I have to tell you, this award is pretty unbelievable to me. When I was 18 years old in Oshkosh, I was going to be a Phi Ed teacher, or maybe a lawyer. I really had no clue what I wanted to do. Mom had a clue. She said, lawyer. And then one night, Dad bought a beer at a bowling alley for the sports editor of the newspaper. He told Dad he was looking for a part-timer. And Dad said, well, I have a son who plays baseball and he's good in English. How's that? So 43 years ago, I got started in newspapers, took bowling scores over the phone, covered high school football, and it was a way to stay close to sports for me at that time, and I enjoyed sports. But I've stayed with this for 43 years for much different reasons. And I think they're the same ones so many of you journalists here tonight stick with it. And I want to read you something. On the same day the mayor of Detroit was convicted of 3 felonies, Detroit Free Press editorial page editor Stephen Henderson received a letter with an enclosure, and we weren't sure what to do with it. The letter came from a reader named Michael Egren. I congratulate your team, Mr. Egren said, on helping to expose the dysfunction and corruption in Detroit. I'd like to send a donation of $100 as appreciation and to help defray those costs that are no longer supported by advertising and sales. Mr. Egren had enclosed a check, and he wouldn't take it back. And I think that letter sums up why we're in this business, craft, calling, and why we will be around for a long time to come. There is nobody else who quite does what trained journalists do, dig up credible information critical to an honest democracy. We're an important check and balance in our system of checks and balances. Now, make no mistake, even as we deal with our economic issues, it's the information that's important. It's not how we deliver it. People will find great journalism in print, on television. I love the idea of an investigative tweet, in their pockets, on their phones, from their e-editions or their e-readers. What we have to do is keep our news-gathering forces in place. And in Detroit, we did cut back on our legacy costs. We'd been driving about to the moon and back in a little over a week's time, delivering newspapers across Michigan 7 days a week. But we kept resources in our newsroom. And with all the ways now that we can deliver information, it's the most exciting of times for journalists, and we don't have to wring our hands over what's changing or might change in the future with the print newspaper. And I think we can look at it this way. The milkman doesn't deliver fresh anymore, and doctors haven't made house calls for decades, but we still get milk and we still get medicine. We're going to be okay as long as we have people like USA Today publisher Dave Hunke, who's sitting out there and was the chief architect of our new publishing model when he was in Detroit, and others here tonight, like Free Press Senior Managing Editor Jeff Taylor, and Steve Henderson, who I mentioned, and Managing Editor Julie Topping, and ME for Digital Media, Nancy Andrews, and Free Press Washington reporters Justin Hyde and Todd Spangler. People like them are why we're going to be okay, and why I'm up here. I'd also like to recognize some family here, stepson Scott Silverboard and his very significant other Shannon Roddy, both lawyers. Mom would be proud. They live in DC. And my wife Vicki, Among the many things we share is a passion for journalism. Vicki's a marketing manager at Children's Hospital of Michigan in Detroit, but she's been in newspapers, she's been in television, and she's been in radio. She knows a good story, and she knows a bad one. So I'm always at work. Vicki makes me a better editor. Thank you. And this feels really good. It feels good to me, and I think this is one of the feel-good nights of the year for journalists. It truly is. But what will sustain us is how people out there feel. And I'd like to briefly read from an email written by Pamela DeSalvo Landis of Detroit to editor and publisher, which is still around. And Pamela Landis related how much she appreciated Free Press reports about the mayor's lies, and then she said, I read a posting somewhere that bloggers are in touch with communities more than newspapers. The poster wrote that analysis isn't needed, that we can read and learn all we want unfiltered. Landis continued, I disagree. When there is so much information out there competing for my time, analysis becomes even more important. I need editors, grown-ups with experience. Despite all the gloom and doom people in your industry must be feeling, they should take note. Great reporting produces great stories that people will be talking about for a long time. Folks, of course, journalism matters, and it always will. Thank you so much.